welcome to the Foreign Report, your weekly foreign policy show that gives you the gory details of geopolitics with some laughs. I don't know. Maybe along the way. We'll see what happens. With me is Travis Irvine. I'm Seena and Travis Irvine, of course, our Columbia Journalism School graduate, weightlifter by just his arms, and incredible skincare routine. Travis Irvine in the virtual studio. Great to see you, buddy.
Great to see you. I'm feeling terrific today. Terrific.
Terrific. Oh, I get it.
There it is. You get it? That's my first pun. Get ready. Get ready for at least two more.
You've got 125% more puns on the way. If you want to send us a question, theforeignreportlpn@gmail.com. Send us a voicemail. We'll answer them at some point. Things, I don't know. I'm so happy, Travis. We did not talk about tariffs last week because we would have said all this stuff. And then yesterday, we're sitting here. It's Thursday, April 10th. We're sitting here the day after he did a 90-day pause on all the tariffs. And they're down to 10% on these countries, on all the other countries, which he hasn't even named on the 75 countries that President Trump says, we're calling the Department of Commerce. And they're calling that. What I want to know is who was picking up the phone? He fired everyone. There's no one around. Is there a Google Voice number? Yeah.
Just an answering machine. Press 1 if you have a problem with the tariffs. Press 2 if you've got more problems with the tariffs.
It's like, Agent! Agent!
Hello! It's just, all these penguins with phones.
Oh, my God. The whiplash that is happening right now.
Right.
I don't even understand how things work. I have to read a lot about the bond market. I have to watching long videos on trade, exports, and imports. You know, here's one thing. My favorite is how they calculated the tariffs. Did you see this?
The fuzzy math. I've heard stories. I mean, all math to me is fuzzy. All I know is I got an email from my Charles Schwab agent saying, "Don't panic. We can help you through this. We've weathered this before." And I'm like, why is this in all caps?
I have a Mazda, and my Mazda dealership emailed me. They're like, if you'd like to trade in your car, please do it before Thursday.
Oh, gosh.
They're like, we have cars on the lot. We're going to use our inventory, but you should probably do something now. If you want a car, let's get you into a 2025 Mazda CX-5.
Now. Before the weekend. Or maybe next week. We don't know.
We don't know. The car's going to be gone.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, man, it's insane. The equation that they ended up using. So this is from Bloomberg. So China, for instance, had a trade surplus of $295 billion with the U.S. last year on total exports of $438 billion. 295 on top, 438 on the bottom. And so they divided the two, according to Trump's formula. That yielded a tariff of 34%. Okay, so they basically they subtracted and then divided. And if you look at the equation that they used here, it's not. I mean, I remember the quadratic equation. You remember that from high school?
Maybe. I don't know.
The opposite is b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
Yes, no? The Pythagorean theorem. Love it.
This is like delta, maybe like pi I x sub I minus m. It's literally just subtracting two numbers and then dividing by the number.
Yeah.
This is how everything happened. I still have not got an answer why the McDonald Islands were included that don't have humans on them.
It's gotta put these penguins in their place.
These
a tariff on tuxedos. That's what we needed.
That's right. Maybe he did. They didn't invite him to their tuxedo party, and he was very offended.
Of course.
I don't know, man. It's a mess. And then I saw this. Our technical director, Eric, sent this to me today, and I said, we have to do this at the top of the show. So this was a Facebook post by someone named Brandon Penton. And it says, got a quote for a purchase today, and it had a $77 tariff charge. I am 100% Trump, exclamation point. But how do we get charged a tariff surcharge for purchasing a foreign-made item? Someone with more knowledge Explain this to me, please! Exclamation point, exclamation point.
Uh-huh.
And then he proceeded to edit it shortly after. And he said, if you start bashing my president, I will remove you from my friends list, ...
No.
Sometimes these things are so stupid that my breath is taken away. It is like I am shocked, and then I immediately am convinced it's fake. Then I have to go, and I've tracked down Brandon Penton. I found his wife's spa that she runs, like it's like a waxing. No. It's real. Other friends of his were coming out. I mean, he is getting dragged. Now, do I feel bad for Brandon? I don't know. Honestly, no. Like,
let's go, Brandon. Come on. They love saying that. That's probably why he loves Trump. He loves saying, let's go, Brandon. They're talking to me.
But it is the thing that I talked about last week. Facts win arguments. Passion wins elections. There's not a single fact you could give Brandon that will convince him that these tariffs are making his costs go up.
Well, especially,
it's just not possible.
If you're giving him all these formulas and the math and trying to explain E equals MC squared or whatever to him, he's going to be very confused. Just don't bash my president.
Exactly.
He's playing the Bob Marley card here. I made the tariffs, but I did not crash the economy. Pun number 2. I have exactly one more pun.
But I don't know what to feel about people like this. There's so many people out there that are not going to comprehend what's going to happen. And I think the other issue is we saw these stock markets go whipsawing this last week, where you had the biggest drop in the stock market in the S&P or the Dow since the Great Depression. I think even more than the Great Depression. Something insane was happening here, right?
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily hitting, as they would say, Main Street, right? It's hitting Wall Street. And so all these big Wall Street institutional investors that he's friends with went to Trump and they said, you got to stop this. Bill Ackman, that really genius guy that spent so much of his time trying to destroy DEI initiatives, saw his portfolios getting destroyed, and he started tweeting at Trump, how about a 90-day pause? Here's how you could do a 90-day pause. And guess what happened? A day later, we have a 90-day pause.
Oh.
If you look at every conservative economist that's talking about tariffs and why they're better, why they're good, even a pro-worker like a Bernie Sanders, okay, would talk about tariffs back in the day. They all say you do a couple things. If you're going to set a tariff, you make it predictable that, hey, this is going to happen. We're going to do this in the future. Or you say, hey, this is the tariff and we're sticking to it.
Right.
You don't do now 125% tariff on China and not expect there to be rampant reconstructions. There's two other arguments that they like the Trump administration is also making here that I want people to really, I want you to focus in here. One, they're saying tariffs will generate more revenue. Okay? They're also saying it will create manufacturing. So you can't have both. You can't do both.
No.
Because if they bring in manufacturing, you're not going to get the revenue from the tariff because they're putting the manufacturing here. And Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, he even said, best case scenario, 2 years manufacturing starts to get onshore. 2 years, by the way, has anyone made a factory ever?
No.
2 years? Oh,
Willy Wonka. Willy Wonka's got a great factory.
Oh, right when the midterms are about to happen. Oh, that's when everything's going to turn right around the midterm elections. Yeah, Willy Wonka took a lot longer than that.
Right.
He took a lifetime to make those scrumdiddlylumptious bars.
So good.
God. Come with me.
And you'll see a
world
of pure
tariffs.
Imagination. It's in your head. The economy's dead. It's a good time to buy, though.
Buy the dip.
Buy the dip. Yeah, I all these.
Did you buy the dip?
No, I don't have any money left to buy the dip. This is a rich person's game. A lot of people are saying that maybe they crashed it because you know what happens. It's in a big crash like this. It's a wealth transfer. $6
Oh,
trillion dollars gone out of working people's 401ks and IRAs and all that other stuff. But now rich people, specifically senators, rich senators, which bugs me, are saying, well, just buy the dip. It's a great time to buy.
No, come on. No one in the Trump camp would buy the dip. Marjorie Taylor Greene would not do anything of the sort. She would definitely not buy Amazon, Apple, Berkshire Hathaway, Caterpillar.
Oh, she's buying everything. You're naming everything. You're going.
Bought all of these from $1,000 to $15,000 because you have to report these things. Nike, she bought the dip, Qualcomm, Southern, United Parcel Service. She bought Parcel Service. She bought the dip.
All of it. She sounds like she bought everything. She just went in alphabetical order and bought as much as she could. She's not even one of the richest senators. She's a lowly House representative.
This was just one side buys, one side sells. The other side got to buy it again. The other side's going to sell again. Everyone's making money except the people they keep saying they protect, except the working Americans, except Brandon, who doesn't understand the tariff.
Don't you bash my president.
Don't you.
I've got 14 Let's Go Brandon flags in my yard, and it's all for me. I'm Brandon.
You know, on that guy's Facebook page, because I was doing a lot of digging, he had like an anniversary recently. And you know how when you do something crazy, you get dragged. The internet goes after every precious moment you have that you posted publicly. And the comments just in his like anniversary photo, it was just like, I love you, babe. And then the comments were like, congratulations. And it's like, is this you? Is this you?
Oh, no.
How do you like your president now? And it's like, how's your day? Oh, man. I was like, that's rough, man. You just don't want to be publicly stupid. But maybe you do, and then you'll be president. So maybe I should take that back.
There you go. Brandon actually just got named to the Economic Advisory Committee. Congratulations, Brandon.
He's the only one. He's the only staffer. That's it.
That's what you want from a Trump administration. No one bashing our president.
So 75 countries apparently were calling, no one leaving voicemails to the Commerce Department and just being like, hey, we'd like to negotiate. They won't tell us who these 75 countries are, but there's a 90-day pause. There's a 10% tariff. China's got a 100 to 25% tariff. This is where we sit here on Thursday, April 10th at 2:30 Pacific time. Anything could happen, okay? Right. The problem that we're facing right now is that none of these tariffs have quite started to permeate throughout the entire economy quite yet. And that's why you still, I think, see people saying, oh, this is part of the master plan. Oh, they're just doing this. But why did he blink, as a lot of people are saying, when it comes to these tariffs? Because of the bond market. So the bond market, a lot of people glaze over when we talk about the bond market. The Treasury, when people buy a bond from the U.S. government, they're basically saying, hey, I'm going to loan the government money, and you're going to pay me some money back in 10 years, okay? So what the government's having to do now is pay people a lot more money in 10 years so that they keep lending the government money. What was happening over the last few days is that Japan and China were dumping the bonds, and the sentiment and the confidence that people have in America globally was plummeting. Oof. And that's the only thing, as we've talked about, America, the reserve currency. If we're not the reserve currency, then we can't print money. We can't do all of these things that we have this power with. So look, it's just the trash man's out here making economic policy.
Right.
And so that's why he blinked.
And this is the domestic policy that becomes foreign policy, like we talk about on this show all the time. I mean, last week, you and Marcus, right? Like you said, the tariffs hadn't even hit yet. And it was being referred to as Liberation Day.
Oh, yeah.
Are we feeling liberated? Are you tired of your 401k being too big?
Oh, yeah. I was exhausted. I was like, that number needs to go down.
Send it down.
Send it down. Downtown.
I want a factory job. Isn't that what Howard Lutnick? I mean, you got to think about some of these economic advisors surrounding Trump.
Some great listener. I posted about Lutnick thinking that on Blue Sky, I posted that Lutnick thinks that we're all going to just make iPhones and that they're like Legos.
Yeah, he said that the manufacturing jobs that are overseas are coming back. Yeah. And we got the little screws. I saw him saying something on CBS about little screws.
Yes, little screws.
I'm feeling a little more than screwed right now, but go on.
It is so incredible. He said the manufacturing is going to come back, which, by the way, he didn't even say like humans are going to be doing this. He said we're going to have a lot of robotics.
Robots. Just like you guys said last week. Yeah. That's exactly what you and Marcus were talking about.
He said robots. So anyways, I posted about this, and then someone on Blue Sky responded to me and said, yeah, Nutlick wanted blah, 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 blah. And I was like, wow, that's a really weird spelling of Lutnick. And then I noticed that he meant to say Nutlick, and I died. I absolutely died.
Wow.
It was one of those things I couldn't even believe. I wish I thought it. Nutlick is so good. So Secretary Nutlick thinks that manufacturing is going to come back immediately and that it's just going to happen. There's going to be some boom, but it's not going to have humans in it. We're going to have robots. And I guess America's going to be polishing robots. I don't know. They were also saying that we're going to make iPhones. And if I just saw, I wish we could pull it up, but Tim Cook, there's a video of him talking about labor in China. And one of the things he said, and this is, by the way, before Tim Cook was CEO, he was the supply chain guy. He was in charge of the entire Apple supply chain, okay? So Tim Cook is saying, listen, China stopped being the cheap labor place like years ago. The labor, and this you could track this because China has been moving toward a more consumer-based economy because they've pulled so many people out of poverty, right, with their manufacturing and everything. So China not only it's not the cheapest labor, right? It's probably cheaper than here. But the problem is, to Tim Cook, is that they need very specific skills, tooling skills, to do the iPhone manufacturing. And he literally said, he goes, in China, I could fill 3 or 4 rooms filled with engineers that can do the tooling skills needed for the iPhone. In America, I couldn't have maybe 5 people. And this is the thing. They have a specific set of skills over there in China.
Wow.
Okay? And they're needed to make our iPhones. And watch. If this reciprocal tariff that's coming over and then the tariffs that are coming in on the Chinese imports and everything like that, you're going to see a $3,000 iPhone. And it's not going to be gold-plated. I'll tell you that much. It's not going to be a platinum iPhone. It's going to be like the plastic crappy one is going to be like $3,000. Unless there's a carve-out, unless Tim Cook's like, I see where you buried that body, Donald Trump. It's like there's got to be something in it where there's some leverage that Apple's able to, I don't know, figure this out for them, or else people's iPhones are going to go right through the roof.
This sounds like one of the more boring Liam Neeson movies in the Taken series. Taken to an iPhone factory. I have a very specific set of skills just making iPhones for 5 hours.
It's just carving aluminum.
Sir, please. You can't get your daughter back that way. I'm going to build the phone, and then I'll call her, and then I'll find her.
Before we go to break, I want to ask you about Herbert Hoover.
Oh, I'm a Herbert Hoover fan.
Big Herbert Hoover. I remember probably drunkenly talking to you about Herbert Hoover.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a terrible president.
And he followed 2 other previous terrible presidents. It went Warren G. Harding to Calvin Coolidge to Herbert Hoover. And out of the 3 of those, Hoover, there's a reason they named a vacuum after him, because he really sucked.
Oh, that's right.
Thank you.
Get him.
Pun number 3.
So the thing that I wanted to talk about Herbert Hoover is because Great Depression. And here are the things that kind of led to the Great Depression.
Yeah.
One could argue, right? High tariffs that then isolated America and that created around the world these trading blocks, right? And these trading blocks, that meant people were trading with each other. They had their own little trading zones and stuff like that. And then on top of that, there was extreme anti-American sentiment throughout the world. So all of that happening meant our economy's isolated. We're not getting anything imported for cheap, right? And we're not exporting. So, boom. You got a quick run on the banks, then you got nothing to support you. You've got nothing. So what do you know about Herbert Hoover that, could give some light onto what was in his head for the decision-making to do all of these things? What kind of guy was Herbert Hoover?
Well, Herbert Hoover was the Secretary of the Interior under Calvin Coolidge, who I mentioned previously. And Calvin Coolidge famously hated being president. Like in terms of like Washington, D.C. used to take like summers off so that Congress could go back to their homes and be back with their constituents. Calvin Coolidge would go back to Vermont. He was a Vermont Republican in the 1920s, so he could do nothing. And he often would just hand the keys over to his Secretary of the Interior, Herbert Hoover, so Herbert Hoover could just run the country, which is why Herbert Hoover was the logical choice to be president after Calvin Coolidge. Now, unfortunately, again, the 1920s, your roaring 20s, it was very unregulated at the time. That is what essentially led to the stock market crash of 1929. But then to your point, after the stock market crash of 1929, they're like, we know what'll fix this, tariffs. And the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, which was of 1929, but it wasn't enacted until 1930, it raised U.S. import tariffs to protect American farmers and businesses who were already starting to hurt real bad because of the Great Depression, but ultimately just made it worse because it triggered, as we're seeing right now, retaliatory tariffs from other nations and just crippled this trade, free trade, any type of trade at all, and then basically put the economy even more in the shitter to the point where obviously Herbert Hoover got his ass kicked in the election of 1932 by a man who couldn't even stand up to kick at him, Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Boom. Thank you for the timeline on that too and working that all out. Those tariffs just, it doesn't, well, listen, it's a different world. It's a different time. Anything could happen, but it seems like history is rhyming.
Every 100 years, it seems like we're due for one. But interestingly enough, and I'm sure you've seen this and many other smarter people than we are did point this out, that this past week, one of the worst days in the stock market since 5 years ago, also under President Donald Trump.
Oh, so, he is a history maker. We got to give him that.
You gotta give him credit where credit's due.
God.
Don't bash my president.
The4reportlpn@gmail.com. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the philosopher and academic prowess of Ron Vera. I'm Seena Ghaznavi, Travis Irvine. This is the Forum Report. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Forum Report. I'm Seena Ghaznavi. Welcome back. Thank you to our sponsors. I don't know who they were. Sometimes, by the way, we don't know who these sponsors are when they send the programmatic ads, folks. So if you just heard, you know, like, I don't know, the military, like just that was the thing.
APAC.
I remember on Fraudsters we had the psychic. There was like a psychic advertising during us doing the Miss Cleo Psychic Readers Network series. So that was uncomfortable. We started getting messages about that. People think that I am over here like picking out these ad sponsors. Folks, not me. It's all software. It's not me. Ron Vera.
Oh.
Do you know who he is?
All I know is that he's a fantastic economic mind, just like
great mind.
Former Texas Congressman Ron Paul, and we all know that two Rons don't make it right.
That's exactly right. Listen, so there's a story that was covered in multiple places, which I don't know. There's a part of this I'm not 100% sure on, but, you know, how did Peter Navarro get to be Trump's trade guy? And we all know that Donald Trump's been talking about tariffs for a long time. Go ahead.
Well, I was about to say, and who real quick is Peter Navarro?
Yes. Peter Navarro, he was a California Democrat.
Wild times.
And then, according to him, and I listened to a whole interview with him on the Daily, they did a thing with him, and it was okay. But his whole thing is that he started noticing that cheap Chinese labor was putting blue-collar working folk out of business. And I think there's a broader conversation to have about globalization and how that was handled, and that cheap products did come in here. I will say that cheap products came in here, and productivity increased. We became like this very demand-centric consumerist economy here. But what we didn't do is that we didn't tax anyone that was making hundreds of millions of dollars a year to ensure that the people that were losing their jobs had a safety net under them to support them. But no, that would be too much government in my pocketbook, and we don't want that. No, we don't want that. So what happened? Well, so before we get to Peter Navarro, how did Peter Navarro even just get into the picture here? Yeah. Apparently, Jared Kushner, during Trump 1, or as they were trying to figure out who was going to be Trump's trade advisor, Trump said to Jared, "Hey, here are my views," and he wrote them on like a napkin or whatever, or like with a Sharpie on a golf ball, and he just wrote tariffs. Okay, and he just gave it to Jared, and Jared was like, "Okay, thanks for this note." That's how I thought Jared talked forever until I heard him speak, and it's kind of close. So then he's there. And he apparently searches Amazon, doesn't read any of the books, just searches the titles. Now, honestly, I don't know if this is 100% accurate. I haven't seen the specific reporting for this. It seems very far-fetched, but as I've learned from fraudsters, the things that are very far-fetched that I can't possibly believe end up always being true. So someone can't possibly just, recommend economic policy by looking at just the titles of books. And apparently that's what Jared Kushner did. And he saw a title of a book called Death by China. And it was by Peter Navarro. And that is how Peter Navarro got in the picture with Donald Trump. Now, Trump's been talking about tariffs forever. Now he finally had this like academic person that could be the, messenger of his tariff policy. He was an expert. But as the Times and I think the Washington Post did some digging during Trump 1, they found out that there was one particular academic quoted inside of this book multiple times, and that was Ron Vera, RonVarra. Now, it's getting a little weird now because people really couldn't figure out who this Ron Vera guy actually was. He didn't work in government. He just kind of was some blogger with very strong views on tariffs. He had great quotes, saying things like, quote, "Only the Chinese can turn a leather sofa into an acid bath, a baby crib into a lethal weapon, and a cell phone battery into heart-piercing shrapnel." Is that a haiku? No. That's not haiku. That's too many syllables.
It's a love letter.
It's a love letter. It was so crazy. And then in all of Peter Navarro's books, he's quoting Ron Vera. And when Trump won his first term, Ron Vera's memos started circulating all over D.C. about Trump's tariff policy. So, who is Ron Vera? We actually have him here in the show today. No, he's not here because he's a fictional, made-up person.
What?
It's Peter Navarro.
Holy smokes. Hold on. Seena, is this an episode of Fraudsters?
It might as well be.
You're telling me Trump goes to Kushner. Kushner goes to Navarro. Navarro goes to a guy who's not real.
Not real, bro.
Mind blown.
This is crazy. Navarro's an anagram for Ron Vera.
Oh my God, that's so dumb.
How many R's? I don't even know if the R's are right. V-A-R-A. Yeah, I got that wrong earlier. It's just incredible.
So dumb. My brain hurts from the dumbness.
This is where we're at in the economy, folks. This is where we're at in our political discourse. This is, again, what did I say before? What did I say before? What did I say? Facts win arguments. Passion wins elections.
When Peter Navarro gets to the White House, he's just like, yes, I'll get you Ron Vera right now. And then just pulls up like a puppet and be like, hello, Mr. President. It's me, Ron Vera. Hello.
What if he just does the finger stash? Hello, Mr. President. It's me, Ron Vera.
Oh, you see my pen mustache? I'm very smart.
And Trump's like, look at this guy. Amazing. This guy. Fantastic.
Right. A ventriloquist and a tariff whisperer.
Oh, my God. And then when he got called out on it, this is the other thing. I wish I had this little amount of shame. Honestly. He gets called out on it, and he's like, hey, it was a whimsical device.
Hey,
an inside joke. It's a good bit. He literally said it's a good bit. This is his logic. It's a good bit.
Yeah.
Travis,
Larry the Cable Guy is a good bit compared to this.
And very nice man.
He's very nice.
Very nice man.
He treats working people with respect.
He does. And he always is like, this is a good bit. I'm going to do this good bit all the way to the bank. And so did Pierre Navarro, but he ended up in prison for a year. But that's fine.
Wait, before he got the job again?
No, because he lied to Congress and then was held in contempt and then didn't show up to his contempt hearing, and then he got thrown in jail for a year.
And then he was like, well, you don't...
And then I think...
shows up to the door with his mustache. We're like, well, there's no Peter Navarro here. It's just me, Ron Vera. You must have the wrong house.
When was Peter Navarro released? Oh, July 6th. Oh, yeah, at the convention. The 2024 convention. The Republican National Convention. He goes and then he speaks that night at the RNC when he was released from prison. That's passion.
Goes straight to RNC. That checks out.
Can you imagine Bob Menendez getting out of prison?
Straight to the DNC.
We were like, get the fuck out of here, Bob.
Oh, gosh.
It's just so insane, this guy. So this is where our trade is coming from, and this is where, again, the country for the last 5 presidents has not talked about globalization in any sort of meaningful way. We haven't talked about the trade policies that we have in any sort of meaningful way. The way the demographics are working even in our country and in Asian countries like in China or in South Korea are all trending in a negative direction, which means if you don't have enough people to have demand, then you're kind of fucked if you have a demand-based economy. So these are things that we have not been figuring out. Larry Summers, classic neoliberalist, who's a total trash man, but we also like to hear what people like this have to say because their whole world order gets upended. He tweeted, it's now clear that the real Donald Trump administration computed reciprocal tariffs without using tariff data. This is to economics what creationism is to biology, astrology is to astronomy, or RFK thought is to vaccine science. The Trump tariff policy makes little sense even if you believe in protectionist, mercantilist economics. And so what I like about that is that he's even giving space for protectionist policies to happen. That's what I think is. So you got to take these things with a grain of salt. Like, he leaves space for like a Bernie Sanders approach to trade policy. And he even says like but none of this is accurate. None of this is the way to do it. And so this is where our tariff policy comes from, guys.
From an invisible man.
Some people were saying that they computed all these tariffs with ChatGPT, and I have to say that is offensive. That's offensive. That would have been
better.
Well, that's offensive to ChatGPT.
Right.
They put a lot of money into that AI.
Yeah.
That thing works a lot better than the math that the Trump administration was using.
This is kind of a deep cut, but if anyone remembers the movie Muppet Treasure Island,
yeah,
where Fozzie is he's Squire Trelawney, and he hires the whole crew, which is full of pirates and Long John Silver and everything. And then when Kermit, as the Captain Smollett, is like, who hired this crew? Everyone points at Fozzie, and then Fozzie points to his finger because there's a man who lives inside his finger who hired the whole crew. And that's where I feel we're at. We're on a boat full of pirates because Fozzie Bear, the man in his finger, hired the whole crew.
Travi, you're a gem. You're a treasure. You're the Treasure Island.
I owe it all to Muppet Treasure Island.
Yeah. You want to give everyone your Tinder profile on the air? You want to?
I ain't on that one. You got to find
which
me.
one are you on? Which one?
You got to find me.
Bumble?
Man, you got
to find Travi. Go find him. Ladies, go find him.
I got a 50-mile radius. Got to keep making it bigger. They got tariffs on the apps now.
Yeah, make it the global trading block, I guess. You got to make it.
Because it's a rough economy out here.
Can you make it the world? Yeah. There's a tariff on Travis if you want him. You gotta pay for him.
If you actually rearrange the letters of tariffs, it spells Travis.
I
just figured that out.
That's good.
Call me the Travis Whisperer.
All right, so to end this this delightful segment on Peter Navarro, let's play a quick clip from him.
All right, so this is a crash course on who Peter Navarro is, who his alter egos are. Surely, Seena, everyone within the administration must love this guy. Totally agree with him. There must be no rifts whatsoever when it comes to this man's very sound economic policy, right?
No, it's Ron Vera. Petey Ron Vera. Navarro.
It's me. Hello, it's me.
It's me. All right, let's see here.
Okay, can we go back to Elon Musk for a second? Because I'm glad that you brought that up. He also took a shot at you personally on X, and he's going against the administration with respect to the tariff policy. The president has said in the coming months he may leave the administration. Peter, is there a rift internally?
No, I mean, Elon, when he's in his Doge lane is great, but we understand what's going on here. We just have to understand. Elon sells cars. And he's in Texas assembling
and we're ruining
cars
the car market
that have big parts of that car from Mexico, China. The batteries come from Japan or China. The electronics come from Taiwan. And he's simply protecting his own interests, as any business person would do. We're more concerned about Detroit building Cadillacs with American engines. And that's what this is all about. So it's fine. There's no riff here. Look, Elon, he's got X. He's got a big microphone. We don't mind him saying whatever he wants. But just the American people need to understand that we understand what that's all about.
Right.
And it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. Hey, there's no riff. I'm going to say things are fine over and over so I believe it. And that way you believe it. Everything's fine. There's no rift.
I like how he talked about we care about people, what is it, in Detroit, Cadillac with American engines. What about the semiconductors or the chips that go into the car? What about the batteries that go into the car? What about every other piece of the supply chain that goes into that car, even American made? By the way, another note about these car tariffs that are going to drop, by the way, your car insurance. Your car insurance is going to go up. Forget about everything. The insurance, you know why? Because these insurance carriers, they are very smart. And they are going to price in the fact that, this part that this person may potentially have to get replaced is more expensive. We're not going to eat that. We're going to make everyone else pay for it. So, yeah, get ready for that.
It's crazy that there is this rift, though, right? Because Elon has been very vocal. He's against the tariffs.
He is.
Like Peter Navarro was saying, because Elon, which is so funny. It's so funny when these rich guys you see them butt heads where it's like, well, he's a car guy.
Yeah.
He's in his Doge lane. He's just using all these car euphemisms to describe what Elon does. He's like, he's getting parts from everywhere. But it is true. Elon's getting these parts for his very expensive cars. I don't think anyone on this show drives one.
Nope, not. I mean, yes, I do.
No,
I do. It's fine. Come on.
You have a Mazda.
I have a Mazda and a Tesla. It's awful. I bought it before he bought Twitter.
There you go.
Okay, and I won't get the sticker that says I bought it before we knew he was crazy, because let's be honest, we all knew he was crazy before. Yeah. We just didn't think it was the flavor of crazy that likes to give their heart to people.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. Don't give your heart. Don't do it.
But either way, you understand what Elon's dealing with here. Because even you, it's like, if you got to get your Tesla fixed, you're getting a part from somewhere else in the world, and now there's a tariff on it. It's even more expensive. That's why Elon's pissed. That's why there's this rift. And it's pretty impressive that in the world of all the economic experts, instead of getting the best of the best, Donald Trump literally assembled the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
Like it's the opposite of the Expendables. You know, it's the Unbelievables. I don't know what to call it.
He got a character actor. He got a guy that was cosplaying and of all the things to cosplay as, you're saying the same thing as your own identity as your alter ego is saying. You're not saying anything different.
Right.
You're saying the same thing.
Yes. It's like Elon on X and then Elon who gives his heart out to people.
Exactly. That's the exact same.
Very different people.
Same.
But it is incredible that you have this rift now where the guy who's destroyed the economy with tariffs and the guy who's destroyed the economy by smashing the federal government now hate each other.
Oh, yeah.
For both ruining the economy.
It's an awkward Thanksgiving. When we come back, we've got some other news. Are we going to go to war with Iran? Are we going to go with Islamic
Boy, that would be
Republic
good
of
for
Iran?
the economy.
That'd be great. We make 12 missiles. Anyways, I'm Seena and Travis Irvine. This is the Foreign Report. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Foreign Report. I'm Seena Gazanovi. We just covered so much on tariffs. I've talked about tariffs now longer than I've talked about tariffs for my entire life put together. Yep. I hate it. This is awful.
Support your local tariff.
We're going to be talking about tariffs constantly now. Things that used to be super boring. By the way, all these countries, they called and they want to make a deal. They want to have better negotiations because there's a pause right now. I just want everyone to know, okay, from the painstaking, boring research I've been doing, on a good day, when there's like a full staff at Commerce and the trade representatives and stuff like that, right? When everyone knows what they're doing, which is not what we're doing, right? Which is not what we have. No. It takes and you have the support of Congress, which you need, by the way.
Right.
It takes 18 months to negotiate a trade deal. 18 months. That's on a good, when things are purring, okay?
Even with old Howard Nutlick in there?
Yeah. Howard Nutlick is not going to be able to close any deals, especially because everything's going to have to go through Trump, and you need to break it down into a 3-slide PowerPoint for it to make sense to him. So here we are, folks. No, there's not going to be any relief. It's just going to be more whips on. Seriously, I started a vegetable garden, okay? I think you should too, okay? You all should start thinking about things.
Advice.
Yes. That's our advice.
That's
my financial advice.
Yeah, that's the next email I get from Schwab. Have you thought about starting a vegetable garden? Have you thought about doomsday prepping 5 years ago?
Yeah.
No, Charles.
I mentioned before the break that we may go to war with the Islamic Republic of Iran. And why do we think that? Well, one, there is a carrier that, as an aircraft carrier, has moved to the Middle East, gotten closer. So that's always a sign.
Oh, yeah.
But... one thing you definitely don't want to do is telegraph your punches to your enemy, right? If you're in a boxing match, you're not going to say, hey, in the next round, I'm going to open up with a right hook, just so you know, be afraid. Be very afraid.
Right, and we've learned about this last few weeks with the big Signalgate scandal.
Yes.
Don't send your war plans accidentally to journalists. Other people may or may not find out.
Exactly. And, interestingly enough, Trump was in the Oval Office. And,
with a bunch of journalists?
Bunch of journalists there.
Oh, I'm sure.
No shortage of TV cameras or
Lots of microphones.
Okay, photos. And then here.
Mr. President, on Iran, you said the other day that if they do not agree to a potential nuclear deal, that it would be very dangerous for them. What specifically?
Well, they can't have a nuclear weapon.
Did you mean military action, though, if they don't agree?
Oh, if necessary?
Ooh.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you have
a deadline for these
Yeah,
talks?
I do.
And
You're talking about with Iran?
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
Do you want something definitive this weekend, or do you see this as the start of a process?
It's a start.
Do you have a timeline?
We have a little time, but we don't have much time
who is starting the
because we're not going to let them have a nuclear weapon.
Okay, wait, let me just pause there
And we're
real
gonna
quick.
let them thrive.
Real quick. Nothing he said here was wrong. All makes sense. We have a deadline. I don't know what he's kind of evading, right? So far, I know he sounds insane, but this is all relatively normal stuff that you would hear a president talking about.
Right. The vague tough guy act. Don't mess with me. If you do this thing, I might do something crazy.
Honestly, I'm calling balls and strikes here. I have no problem with this up till here. Okay.
Okay.
Thrive. I want them to thrive. I want Iran to be great.
Thank you.
The only thing they can't have is a nuclear weapon.
All right.
They understand that. But with Iran, if it requires military, we're going to have military. Israel will obviously be very much involved in that. He'll be the leader of that.
What?
Wait, what?
What?
Nobody
Wait,
leads
what?
us. We do what we want to do.
On the subject of U.S. troops stationed in
Wait,
Iraq,
what?
What's that? Hold on.
I'm sorry. Did he say Israel would lead that?
Yeah, he said they would be involved, and then after that, he said they would lead that. I think is what he said. That's exactly what he said.
It's the dumbest guy in the world.
No,
Guys,
you're telling me who needs signal?
Yeah.
You can just tell the press directly.
What? You know what we've
needed?
We've needed transparency, and you know what? Damn it, we got it. We're getting it. Israel's going to lead a strike on nuclear facilities in the Islamic Republic of Iran. And there's an aircraft carrier now, which is, not easy to hide. Everyone always reports when an aircraft carrier moves to a new position slightly closer to an enemy.
It's a giant ship. Everyone knows where it goes.
It's
not exactly clandestine.
It doesn't. Who needs signal is the best when you've got a guy who's just going to
I'll just say it. I'll just go out there and say it. He also goes on to say in this, almost to backtrack or defend himself or neither. Who the hell knows with this guy? That no one leads us. Because he tried to make a point. He's like, Israel's going to lead it. Yeah. And then he's almost like, no one leads us, but
we do what we want.
They're going to be involved. They're going to be very involved.
But I do have a tea time next Monday at noon. And if it's, I'm not saying anything about timing, but something could happen. We do what we want. I'm going to go golfing.
Right.
Which, by the way, how about when he went golfing this last week? The economy was tanking, and he went to a live golf tournament.
Yes.
And then there was these troops in Europe that had been killed, and that he didn't even watch a Zoom in their honor.
Right. Because he said it bums him out. He does. It ruins his game. That's what he said.
It ruins his game. He's got to keep that handicap down. Jesus.
That's what you want. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if he was golfing at the live tournament with Bibi Netanyahu. Have you heard of this guy?
Oh, Bibi?
Yeah, not a made-up character by Peter Navarro.
A very anagram of Netanyahu. Yeah.
You got to rearrange the letters, and then, it all makes sense. No, he is a very real right-wing war hawk, prime minister of Israel. And this is music to Bibi's ears when Trump is sharing war plans openly. But Benjamin Netanyahu has openly, for over the last 20 years, as he's been in and out of Israel's government, wanted the U.S. to lead an invasion against Iran, but with Israel's help, right? So it was always going to be something together. So this has been something on Bibi's bucket list for a long, long time. In fact, he was actually saying to Congress as far back as 2002 that Iraq, Libya, and Iran were his three main worries for national security in the Middle East. And it's pretty clear.
Those three countries are failed states now.
Exactly. It's pretty clear to see what's happened over the last 20 years. Bibi's fished at least two of his wishes. And then if you paid any attention to his big speech to Congress last year in 2024, when he received, 50 standing ovations or so, maybe more, he was also very against Iran. And that's why he keeps saying that the United States' national security problems is Israel's national security problems. Our interests are aligned, and that is why I think Bibi was absolutely overjoyed when Trump won the election in November, because now he's got someone who, again, he can either trick him into getting what he wants, or he can convince him either way. And now it seems, per the air carrier that is literally, 2,000 miles away from Iran now, that is equipped with planes that can fly with bunker busters and then fly back, it would be very, very dangerous to say that I think Bibi might be fishing his third wish.
So this is difficult for me because as an Iranian American, it's very difficult. I mean, I can't go back thanks to, just talking publicly against the regime. And there's a lot of other Iranian Americans that would be very happy for Bibi to bomb the government of Iran. And I think the problem becomes, what is the result of bombing Iran?
Right.
Are you just going to get the nuclear sites? Are you just going to level the government? Who takes the place of that government, right? What ends up happening? And that we've historically never had a good exit strategy. We always think about the bombing, but we don't know who's going to fill the void, much like what happened in Iraq. The fact that Iran
Libya.
And Libya, just the fact that we leveled and we killed Saddam Hussein, right? Everyone's like, oh, he was so terrible. Yeah, he was so terrible. But Iran was not the Islamic Republic was not as powerful back then as they are now, because they had the counterbalance of a very insane Saddam Hussein. And sometimes you need a crazy, crazy person to keep other crazy people in check. And now we just have the lunatics in the Islamic Republic of Iran's government that hold their country hostage, that are now funding Hamas and the Houthis and a lot of other terrible stuff, but at the same time, at what cost? I thought this president was the non-interventionist president.
Right. And we saw that battle play out in Signalgate, right? Where J.D.
Yeah.
Vance was trying to argue this America first, don't get involved with foreign entanglements. And then you have the neocons who are like, no, the president is on board. Stephen Miller said the president is informed and he is given the go-ahead.
But it doesn't mean that he wouldn't farm it out, that he wouldn't just greenlight Bibi to do it. But then again, Israel's not going to like occupy Iran and rebuild it. Like what happens, like the MEK could come in, or it's going to be like John Bolton and Rudy Giuliani dropping into, with them. I mean, there's a lot of these like very fringe groups that could come in. There's the Shah's son, who is, some people love him, some people don't. And so it's like problematic. I'll tell you what, it's going to be a mess no matter what. And it is very worrisome. I try to be hopeful because I'd love to take my children back to their ancestral land one day, but I don't know what it's going to be. I think if I were to ask someone, like a family member inside of Iran right now, they would probably say, bomb the motherfuckers because we're tired of this. And so that is different than but it's not like that's them in an experience versus us having to deal with the repercussions in our blood, our treasure, and our, the lives of our military. There's a lot of difficult things to think about that I don't think the country is ready for, frankly.
Yeah, well,
we're war weary.
And the good news is, if you want to take your family to Iran, I got an aircraft carrier. It's got some extra rooms on it.
That's parked? Yeah. You just take a little
parked
boat?
Real close. Take a little boat, and you and the family, kind of like, the end of Dr. Strangelove. Just, come on, kids. Get on there.
All right, we talked about J.D. Vance a little bit here, too, but let's get into our Everyone Hates J.D. Vance segment. Travis Irvine, fellow Ohio native with J.D. Vance. You guys are arguably related. So why don't you go ahead and tell us about J.D.
We
Vance.
have the same birthday. It still blows my mind
Yes.
that on my birthday, I now have to read it's also J.D. Vance's birthday.
Oh, God.
So anyway, yes, once again, everyone's favorite weekly segment. Everybody hates JD. What did JD do to piss everyone off this week? Well, he got good news. It goes not just from his hometown, but all around the world, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, this week, JD Vance, under the Doge cuts, his hometown, Middletown, Ohio, is about to lose a $500 million grant that was given to the steel company Cleveland Cliffs to improve their steel mills there in Middletown, Ohio. If you haven't read J.D. Vance's book, don't worry, a bunch of people haven't as well. But it's about how the steel mill jobs left Middletown and destroyed the economy there. There's still some semblance of steel mills, but they've all been bought up. And of course, now they were supposed to get $500 million in grants from the federal government, and Doge has them on the chopping block, which means city council people in J.D. Vance's hometown are now saying, where's J.D. Vance? Doesn't he want to help his hometown? His hometown, by the way, voted for J.D. and Trump by 62%. You got to wonder if that's going to change in the next election. But it keeps going, folks. Don't you worry.
What?
Everyone was shitting on J.D. Vance for getting a variety of facts wrong. First of all, he's a Yale law school grad and somehow didn't read the court documents out of the terrible incident from Maryland where a man was sent to El Salvador incorrectly. We've all read about this. And one person who's not read about it is J.D. Vance, because he was arguing with people on Twitter nonstop about how you didn't read the court documents. You didn't read the court documents. But in the court documents, the judge in Maryland clearly says this man is not a criminal. He's not an illegal alien. He should not be deported. And then he did get deported anyway. So everyone was giving J.D. plenty of guff about that. There's also his giant whopper on the alleged Social Security fraud, where he keeps saying 40% of people on the retirement program are actually involving fraud. Those numbers are not true. All of this leads to, of course, his recent appearance in Greenland, where, of course, Trump had to send him so he could get rid of him just for a little bit because JD had pissed everyone off.
Did he shoot one of the dogs? Did he shoot one of the dogs?
No, you're thinking of Christy Nome. That's her. Her deal. Yes.
Yeah, got it.
If we had sent her, those dog sled races would be a lot shorter. But of course, as you all know, also sent to Greenland originally was just his wife, Usha. And Usha recently did an interview with the newspapers, and she said, and I quote, "My husband is a very lonely man." Yes. From his hometown to the rest of the world, no one likes JD Vance. He doesn't like getting booed all the time. And his own wife, who I think may be the only person left who likes to hang out with him, even admits that he is a very lonely man. Ladies and gentlemen, the fact that JD Vance is hated by everybody, and even his most loved family members can agree that he is the loneliest man on the planet, makes a lot more sense when you see that picture of him all alone in Greenland. That is your update on why everybody hates JD Vance.
Wow, that was incredible. That was like 4 or 5 different
It's all
hits.
over. It's everywhere. From Middletown to Greenland. Everybody hates this guy. JD Vance.
We're gonna hit him. We're gonna hit him hard. And we brought up Signalgate again, because you don't need Signalgate when you've got Trump. So that's good. And that's still going on, by the way. There's actually an investigation that's happening that's around Signalgate. So thank God something's going to happen. I mean, investigations don't mean much, but at least it's still going to be in the news. And that means every time there's a filing, we'll hear about it again. And you could trust that this show will not stop talking about how dumb this administration is. So I wanted to talk about the undo list. And that is an email list that I know about that some mutual friends have created. And what it is if you feel like you don't know what to do beyond just listening to the show, that you want to get involved somehow, it is an email list that basically helps you, gives you a guide to how to economically combat all the authoritarianism that's happening right now. Like, cancel your Amazon. Stop shopping at, or cancel your Washington Post subscription. So things that were hopefully going to hit these companies and these billionaires and their bottom line. A lot of it is trying to do them not forever, but through July, through their earnings reports, so they actually hit the bottom line. There's a lot that's happening. If you, of course, do it for longer, that's even better. But it's a nice email that you get in your inbox every day. It's called the Undo List. You can look it up, take a peek. We'll try to link it in the episode description. But if you feel like, what am I supposed to do? Check it out. I do it. I've canceled a few things. I do have 2 children, so Amazon is a difficult thing to cancel. Let's be honest.
Sure.
But there are other ways that are pretty cool that I find really helpful. So I highly recommend that. They're not a sponsor. We're not paid for this at all. But it is a helpful tip that I thought people may want to check out. Travis.
And of course, I seem to mention it as often as I can, but I am actually headed to a local film event here in Columbus, Ohio, where we will be showing the trailer for my documentary, American Mayor, AmericanMayorMovie.com. You can also check it out. And again, to align with what Seena's talking about in terms of doing anything in these wacky times. Yes, this is the foreign report, but everything starts domestically as we continue to cover on this show. Please run for local office. It is not as hard as you think, depending on the size of your town. If I was able to do it, I ran for mayor of my town, Bexley, Ohio, 15 years ago, and that's what the documentary is all about. If I can do it, you can do it. And just by getting involved, you can change the conversation, even if you don't win. So check out American Mayor at AmericanMayorMovie.com. See if you can change some things locally and think globally.
Hell yeah. All right, everyone. I'm Seena Ghazavi, Travis Irvine. This is The Foreign Report, theforeignreportlpn@gmail.com. Send us a question. Big thanks to Adam. Big thanks to Danielle. We'll see you guys next week.